I know from coaching with well over 20,000 women in the last decade that a lot of female entrepreneurs in particular just don't celebrate their wins. Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to the Jennifer Allwood Show. I'm excited to chat with you here today. We're going to be talking today about celebrating your wins as a business owner. And so a lot of my topics at times will come from conversations I have with coaching clients. And recently I did have a client who said, something along the lines of, I always see and celebrate other people's accomplishments, but it just doesn't come naturally for me to celebrate my own. And then the second part of her question was, like, I don't know how to really celebrate other than with food, which I thought was really, really interesting, by the way. I think that's a total different topic and one that I'm probably not equipped to really speak on. I will mention, like, I understand that food was really used growing up as a form of comfort, no fault of my parents or anything, but it really was something that we had at, we were big eaters. I grew up in Iowa, so we were some meat and potatoes people. And so I get the whole like food to celebrate. And we really do live in a country where food is used for all like social gatherings. I mean, there's no way, you have people over your house to watch Chiefs game without having snacks, right? And so it's a birthday, we're going out to eat. It's just food is just kind of everywhere. And so I get that. I also understand how we can use food to really pacify and to soothe emotions or fill a hole in a gap. And so again, I think that's a totally different podcast, but I do want to talk today just about the whole celebrating wins thing. So if you think about, like, it sounds easy enough just to celebrate wins, right? If you're doing something big, hard, and scary, or you've launched something, or you've finally got your business open or whatever. But I know from coaching with well over 20,000 women in the last decade that a lot of female entrepreneurs in particular just don't celebrate their wins. They don't celebrate their wins. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, I think that sometimes they feel like unsure of how to celebrate without it feeling boasty or, humble brag or, just arrogant, if you will. Like they're bragging or what have you. And so I think that can sometimes be a little bit of a like hard thing to do. I think also it's hard when you're in the online space and there's a lot of dollars being exchanged sometimes, and when we've been, we hit the $2 million a year mark in my coaching 6 years ago. And so, and I've never looked back since then. So I think sometimes, like, if you have a launch or something and it goes really well, it's hard to like share with other people who may not be entrepreneurs and who may not understand the dollars that you are talking about. It almost sounds like monopoly money sometimes. What they don't understand is you maybe had some affiliates, you paid, 20 grand in Facebook ads for that launch, or, you still got a whole team and as 6 figures a month in business expenses. So like, I think sometimes it's hard to understand, like, well, who can I celebrate with that's going to understand even kind of what I'm talking about as entrepreneurs? I think most entrepreneurs are just such drivers and pushers and almost hard on themselves at times that the majority of the time with type A personalities, we always feel like we should be further even than what we are. So it's like no time to slow down and celebrate because, I hit this milestone, but this was actually just the good milestone, because a lot of times we do the good, better, best. What I really was wanting to hit was the best. And then if I had hit that, then I would maybe have celebrated. And so I don't know, by the way, that I always believe that, but I do believe that as female entrepreneurs, we more than likely, we're just drivers, we're pushers. And so we're always thinking I should be further ahead. By the way, I will just, as a side note, just mention to you, it doesn't matter how many millions of dollars a year your business is making, you will always wish that it was further ahead than where you are. It's just the truth. And it's really the way that God wired us, because when you think of that, it's not discontent really, because I can be completely okay with my body as it is today and also wish that I could drop another 10 pounds. I can be both. I can be satisfied, but also be like, and another 10 pounds would be amazing. Does that make sense? So you can be at whatever, milestone your business has reached and also still know that there's more and that you wish that you could go further, etc. And so if you're someone that ever has taken the Enneagram test, and there's going to be some believers who are on here like, oh, grasping their pearls right now. Jennifer, I can't believe. Okay, just I've done the Enneagram test. I'm an Enneagram 3. I think it's a great tool, the test is, that can really be used for good, just to understand your tendencies, the way you react to things, kind of why you do the things that you do, and other people around you. Okay. So a lot of business owners are Enneagram 3s, which means that we just tend to push, and we don't like a lot of the attention on us celebrating accomplishments. So it's hard for us to celebrate our own when we really don't want anybody else doing it either. I mean, every time somebody like has me on their podcast, and if they read my bio, and they're like, 700,000 social media followers and an email list over 100,000, a #1 best-selling book, within the first few hours on Amazon. And, and I'm like, oh, it just feels so cringe to hear other people like even talk about me. And I don't know where to look. It's always just so weird. So if you ever see me as a guest on somebody else's podcast, just know that the whole time they're reading my bio, I'm like cringing on the inside. I mean, it's much easier for me to like see things on my website, like, talked about in Forbes magazine or whatever. That's easier for me than hearing somebody's words. And then I'm like forced to try to figure out what to say. I'm like, yeah. Let's just get to the part where we talk about the good stuff, where I can help some other woman who's on the other end of this podcast. Like, that's what I always want to say. So I do think it's very awkward and uncomfortable for a lot of women, especially if you're a driver, especially if you're an Enneagram 3, to celebrate your wins openly. You're thinking that you should be further. I do think too that there's another issue. It never ceases to amaze me how I can be in the middle of fulfilling one goal and already thinking of the next one. Let me give you an example. Back when I used to do triathlons, and I talk about my triathlon days in my book, Fear's Not the Boss of You. And I started doing triathlons when I was 40 years old, which was quite an accomplishment considering I didn't know how to swim. And, triathlons are swimming, biking, running. Goes in the order of how dangerous. It starts with the most dangerous sport, which is the swimming. There are triathlons that swim in a pool. I have done that, but my first one was in a lake. I did many, most of them were in the lake. Of the 10 I did, I think 8 were in the lake. I have had friends do triathlons in the ocean. It will never be me. I'm going to say that right now. Never, ever. Never, ever. I mean, anytime I say never, I'm like, don't ever say that, because what if the Lord, no, never, Lord, never. I'm just not comfortable with the water in that way. But anyhow, so I had to figure out how to swim. To learn how to swim, I ended up doing 10 triathlons over the course of 6 years. But it would always happen to me that I would be like, either, on the last leg of this triathlon, or maybe the last week of training, or the last few minutes of the run portion, or I would have just gotten finished, and before like the medal is even around my neck, for participation, by the way, not for kicking butt, because I was, I was average at best. But before the medals even like finish swinging, I'm already thinking to my next race. I'm already thinking, what else can I do? A perfect example of this also is Jason and I are getting ready to close on our third rental property. And I told Jason just the other day, so we're closing tomorrow. And I told Jason just the other day, like, hey, just so you know, I know the location where I want the next one. And it's not in Florida, by the way. And I want to have a lake property in Table Rock Lake, Lake of the Ozarks, because we're a drive there from Kansas City. So anyway, like we haven't even closed or even started the remodel or even got this one listed on Airbnb yet, and I'm already thinking to my next goal. And so I think that that's how a lot of entrepreneurs are wired. It's hard just to like sit in the moment, because you basically like you wake up in the morning and you hit the ground running, and taking that time to like pause and reflect, it just doesn't feel natural. It just doesn't. And so I think a lot of times we downplay our accomplishments, we fail to really pause and recognize them, et cetera. But here's why I think that you should, and I should, really try to take some time to acknowledge whenever we do something that was hard or that felt big, even if it only felt big to us and to no one else. I can remember when my second book came out, it went along with Fear's Not the Boss of You. This little one right here, if you're watching on YouTube, it's called Get Stuck, or Get Unstuck and Stay Unstuck. And it's like a little coffee table book that is a nice compliment to Fear's Not the Boss of You, right? Well, I can remember when it came out that I was like, I didn't even hardly want to promote it at all. And I was just like, yeah, like it just felt like such a non-event. And I'm like, dang, Jen, you really should have paused and just celebrated the fact that you've had not one book that's been published, but you've had two. But if you're like me at all, you just kind of ram your way through onto the next thing. And so I think celebrating our wins, whether it's a small little coffee table book or the one that went to number one in 6 hours, I think that all of it is worthy of some reflection and celebration. It helps us to just, build some confidence, gain some courage for the next hard thing we're going to do, because as a business owner, you for sure will be doing another hard thing. It just reinforces the fact that we've had progress. It helps us to stay motivated. It gives us evidence of the fact that we're actually doing the thing. And even in the Bible, it says we're not to despise small beginnings. So please know that, your celebration may be you finally picked out a name for the business, or you finally got it registered with the state. Your celebration, maybe you finally got your website design, or maybe you finally hired my team, to make your website for you. Your accomplishment may be you finally got that course launched after, trying to build it for the last couple of years. But whatever it is, it's not about ego. It's about honoring the work that you've put in and giving yourself a little credit for doing things that most other people aren't doing. Listen, if you worked at a corporate 9 to 5, they have employees of the month and you get special parking spots, and, there's award ceremonies and banquets and things. We don't have that as entrepreneurs. So it's almost like if we don't throw our own little party, and nobody can throw a party for us, right? And so just know that it's not about ego, but sometimes just taking a breath and being like, okay, like we just did that. My team and I, we just did that, or I just did that. I think it's huge. I think it's a great time also to just like sit in gratitude. Lord, thank you for even like allowing, like we had our team meeting this morning, and whenever I'm in on the team meetings, I always try to start us out with prayer. And I thanked the Lord that, we have a company. I own a business. We have enough clients so that my entire team can be remote, and we can all take time to go, be with family and friends and all of the things during the day. We have flexible schedules, and like, just like sitting for a moment and just realizing what you have and just taking inventory of what you've just accomplished, what the Lord has accomplished through you, what the Lord has led you to, what, the talents, the gifts that the Lord has given you on this side of heaven. Like, I feel like when you are able to really sit with that kind of gratitude, that just really positions you for like miracles and blessings. I do, because a grateful heart, I would think, is super easy to bless. Think about like your own children. Because we've got four, which is a whole lot. So even when I think about my kids, there are seasons, I'll say that, where a couple of the kids have been way more grateful than the others, or they're just wired with a more grateful heart. And isn't it easier almost to be like, what do you want? Want me to buy you a pony? What do you want right now? New car? Mom's on it for you. I don't mean literally, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? And so like just sitting in some gratitude for what the Lord has done, and what you have partnered with the Lord to do, I think just really positions you for further blessings, miracles, et cetera, et cetera. And so back to the client, who was asking me about why it's so hard to celebrate and how she could celebrate in ways that were non-food. Again, I'm not the expert on this, but I was just going to say to her that I think that over the years, I have gotten really good at treating myself when I have a big win, when I have a small win, when I've accomplished something, to experiences. So that's not food related, to some sort of thing. Like I used to get massages every time we would launch. I would just instantly put it on my calendar, even if if the launch didn't go the way I wanted it to. Just the fact that we did launch was enough to celebrate. I think having something like buying yourself up, flowers, or something for your home, or a new pair of jeans, or whatever, like that could be good too. Those are all decent ways to just celebrate your own wins without it being like another dinner out or crumble cookie or what have you. So, although the other day, I will tell you, sorry, my alarm's going off here. Ava came home with a box of crumble cookies, and recently I've seen some stuff on TikTok about like the bad stuff in, anything like that. So let me just say that before one of you sends me a DM on how bad they are for us. But she came back with like this little box of minis, and one of them was like blueberry crumble or something. Oh my gosh. The only crumble cookie I really like, don't at me for this, okay? But it's really the only one I really like is the sugar cookie. But then I tried the blueberry and I'm like, oh, delicious. So I hope this was helpful for someone today. I think it's important that you figure out a good way to celebrate your wins. You figure out what exactly is a win for you. And then you make sure that you pause long enough to do it. And if you're someone who's really struggled, like the girl I was coaching, with celebrating other than like a food, some sort of a food prize, get to the bottom of that. Get into some good counseling. Talk to somebody who can help you get past those sorts of things. It's definitely not me, because I still have my own journey with that. But get to the root of that and figure out another way to celebrate, and figure out why and how has food become like an idol in a way. And that will be super helpful. So listen, friends, I want to say I'm just proud of you for whatever you've done this year. We're nearing the end of 2024 already. You may not be where you want to be, but you're definitely not where you were last year at this time. I guarantee you, if you are in business, you have done something hopefully this year to like further your business, put one foot in front of the other, grow it, scale it, all of the things. And I just want you to know that I too, I hope you're proud of yourself, but I too am proud of you. All right. Talk soon, friends. Bye-bye. Easton, Easton, are you proud of me, son? I'm proud of you. Are you proud of me?